What's up, guys? Welcome back to another great episode of Landscaping to the Point. I am your host. My other two co hosts right next to me is JC. Down below is Josh the Ghost. He actually finally showed back up. He's been away for a little bit, but we're not going to talk about where he's been, that kind of stuff. But welcome back, guys, and welcome whoever's watching, no matter where you're watching, listen to us. Welcome. Thank you guys for joining in. So today we are back. It's been a hectic spring so far for me, and part of the first part of the summer. I know summer's starting here. I think yesterday or something. I don't remember. There's so much stuff going on, and that's one of the why we're going to talk about this episode topic. If you guys can see the topic, it's time management. Um, Been a lot of stuff going on this year, and I know we all get that at the beginning of the spring where we're busy, we're just so full up of all kinds of stuff, trying to get all the stuff done as much as we can. Josh knows where we're at. Josh's been there, JC's been there. We all have been there at some point of our life, trying to just get everything done as fast as we can and do the best quality we can. This year, it's been a lot more work for me. My daughter graduated this year, so we just had a graduation party last week. This Saturday, and I feel like now that it's all done, it's been such a weight lifted off of me. I mean, I've been doing all kinds of stuff at my house. I did a patio, I did a fire pit, I did a deck. We did another addition onto some other things. So I mean, there's been so much going on here at my house that between working and here, I feel like I've been working 24/7 nonstop every day. So it's been a very big, busy last couple months, and it's one of those things. How do you manage everything on top of running your business and trying to keep busy, and make sure that everything's going smoothly? So I'm going to throw it out to you guys. I know JC, you've been there once before. Josh is there all the time because he's so busy, and he's it seems like he never puts down the phone except for when he's talking with us half the time. So uh,
I will tell everybody one thing, and most people know it. I, I am not a texter. If you text me, there's a good chance I'm not going to answer, or I'll disappear mid fucking conversation. Forget about it. Because from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed, the amount of text messages I get, I go, if it's that important, call me. Fucking call me.
right. I bet, dude. I mean, I'm a little different than you. I mean, I'd rather have people text me the messages, so instead I don't have to answer their phone. And to me, it's a little bit easier that way, so I can think about it sometimes if I'm busy or whatever. But yeah, I get what it is, dude. I know how it is. My phone, I probably have like 100 notifications throughout the day between Instagram, Facebook, text messages, phone calls, and it's hard to go through all that stuff and figure out what has to be answered right now. And do you need to look at that Instagram post that Pablo's putting up or somebody else is putting up? It's one of those things that you're always trying to figure it out. But how do you guys handle it when you're busy in the spring or when you got lots of stuff to do? How do you figure it out to make sure that it runs smoothly? JC, we'll go with you first.
Yeah. So this year, I mean, obviously I'm not in business, but this year I've found that I've not been so busy in life, which is kind of relaxing because I've had time to do a lot of things that I wanted to get done for myself. But as far as the business aspect of things, to put it in context, I would allot Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays for my days to work Friday evenings, Saturdays, and Sundays.
Right.
And what I found that worked for me was I would try, and I think it's kind of general with everybody, I would try to fit as much jobs that I could early on um, so that I would have the end of the week, not so much on my shoulders. So Friday evening, I'd try to bang out as many that I could so that Saturday and Sunday, I wouldn't have to play catch up so much on, and do more, on Sunday, for example. And Sunday I'd have, two or three um, properties that I had to take care of. And it just kind of it relieved a lot of stress. You put in the work in the beginning, and then you enjoy it kind of at the end. So it's like you create your own time off.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you on that. It's one of those things, though. You know, you always want to get as many jobs as you can. You know, especially in the spring when you're trying to do stuff. Yeah. Josh, how do you handle it all? I know you've been where I've been with, you know, your daughter's graduating and all that stuff. And how do you handle all that with everything going on? I know you just moved, so last year had to be hard on you because of moving and all that stuff and trying to get the house situated and running your business smoothly. How did you handle all that?
I've been here for a couple of years, and I wish I could sound as smooth as far as like can't get like the best way I can say it. Like picture a dude with two machetes, ass, and just cracking shit out, and that's kind of what I do. Someone's always pissed off because I go outside of town. That's but the way kids, the guys, the customers, the management company. You know, I still have clients that I haven't pulled slammed all spring. But I still do. The one thing I do is not necessarily like Saturdays is still a cutoff for me. I try to get week. But it's sharp cutoff. I try not to do nighttime. My week Saturdays, if I have to work, I'll do it. Sundays or job for anything. This year was more my guys, you know, bumps in the road, but things are, which is nice. We're in the, it's gonna get hectic because we have a heavy workload coming up, and we haven't really sold much construction, so made rope stuff. But we're in the middle. Not at least for a different location. The time that we're at, you know, busiest times of year, while trying to keep going. And to back that real quick, but I think part of the reason why I'm a big texter. I mean, big if somebody jumps on a phone. It's rather this is for 10 years. But even prior to that, I've always had an hour no matter where I live. So I'm not big like I can drive. But it's I'm on a phone call and find out probably that's why I'm not big. Why I'm gonna say
Josh, I don't know what you did with your mic, but it sounds breaking up. Even people on Instagram are telling that you're breaking up. It must be your internet. I don't know. You always have problems with your internet, and I think it's that old, you know, because you're in that old house. I think it's, you know, your old wires. You've got old wires from 1950 before they upgraded to Cat 8 or whatever it is. So
I have a perfect explanation as to why Josh is having technical difficulties. And it's not because he has bad internet. It's because Josh isn't real.
He's a ghost.
Josh is AI generated. So we just created him like he was our imaginary friend, and then we just created him in real life and AI generated him. So it's only really just me and Scott, but we created an AI character in Josh, so it's not perfect.
Can you fucking hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. I don't know what it is. Okay, maybe you got a new internet. But anyways, so C. Crowley kid, he says that he's over on Instagram, says there's no such thing as running smoothly. You have to improvise, adapt, and overcome every day. That's how I manage less problems. It's easier, more problems you prepare for it. I think it's true, but I think you kind of want to run smoothly as much as you can. You know, like it's kind of like what we talked about last week is you want to make sure that you're running smoothly to where you're not having as many breakdowns. You're prepared for that. and you got it in a budget, and that's kind of more what I look at as running smoothly, is to be able to go out and not have 40 screw ups in the week of like, hey, the guy hit this tree, this guy hit this week, this sprinkler head, you got to go fix this, you got to go fix that. That's where I want to be smooth that way. And where I can just go through each job, make sure they're getting done the right way. And yeah, you can prepare for that by having the right crew, training your guys the right way. I think that's one of the things me and Josh try to do all the time, is to try to train the person the right way. But it's hard sometimes, and you want to make sure that when you're busy, you're getting that smooth transition throughout the week and all that stuff. So
I think you said it, Scott. That's like the secret weapon, is preparing, and it's like it's like risk management and preparing yourself for the inevitable, or preparing yourself for things that maybe go wrong. Like, it's almost like if you were to compare it to going on a long road trip. You want to, before you go on that road trip, you want to change the oil of your car. You want to make sure like your tires aren't bald. You want to make sure like you have all your supplies and all that stuff. You don't just jump into a car. Some people do. They just don't jump into a car and then travel, across the country, and then find out that you're overheating, and you need to change your oil, and you need new tires, like all those things, because that avoids problems down the road. So it's like having your supplies, having your inventory of supplies, having a backup mower if you have that ability, having a backup leaf blower or trimmer if things go south. And I think from you guys, I would imagine delegating is important too. Making sure that you're assigning tasks to your employees and distributing that workload across everybody, so that it's a lot easier in the long run and more efficient.
True. Josh, do you feel that's the right way to go, by having the delegating stuff? I know you delegate a lot of stuff to all your crew members and your foremans. Is that one thing that you're always working for?
Yeah, and trying to do more and add more, take more off my plate. Obviously, knowing when to jump in at the right times, but also, realizing that I'm not going to grow, not necessarily as a company, but grow as like a business owner, and be able to kind of have that freedom I wanted. Instead of complaining, all I do is fucking work day and night, is learning to delegate more, who to delegate it to, know when. I had a talk with one of my foremen the other day about, he wasn't happy with a rookie, a young guy, and he wasn't getting it. And, it was all right. Is it the way that we have it set up to teach him? Is it the way that you're relaying the information to him? Like, start with us, assume that we're the ones that aren't training him right, and then blame it on the person. Make sure that internally that we have it locked down and our system's good and our training policies and procedures are good, and then blame it on the person. Because as we grow and every year things change, I tell guys, it's like we have to keep an eye, and we have to nip it in the bud from within, and then start from there. It's accountability. It's just like, when the self-help shit all comes down to accountability.
True. I think that's one of the best things to do, is hold your crew accountable, no matter who you have with you. Correct? I mean, that's the only way we're going to run smoothly. Sometimes it's the only way we're going to be prepared for the whole rest of the season too.
I've had to step out of work for a couple weeks, and one of the hardest things was being like, knowing that they were falling behind, and normally I would jump in and save the day, but going and having no choice but to go figure it out, give you my best advice on how to do it, give you my suggestions. If you don't follow them, you learn to fall on your ass, and maybe you'll understand why I am the way I am, and I said what I said. But that's the hardest thing. Like, overtime was fucking crazy this week, but at the same time, I didn't set a single foot. That's a lie. I helped out on Friday for about 4 or 5 hours. I helped out, very light duty. But again, that was just kind of expected. That was one of my promises to the crew, that I have to go on a specific property to help them get it done. And it's a to get done. But other than that, it was really difficult to be like, we'll figure it out. You guys know how to do it. I did have to talk one of the guys from going in. I'm a firm believer in no working on Sundays. Doesn't matter how far behind we are. I had to talk one of the guys out from working today. That's not our MO. That's not our culture. We don't work on Sundays. Sundays are, hey, your day. You don't have family. Stay home and fucking play with yourself. Whatever you gotta do.
I think that's one of the best things about when you own a company. I was just talking to somebody the other day that they've been around me for over 40 years, and they know I've been running the business almost 30 years, and they asked me, how do you manage everything that you do during the week? Because they knew years ago I would work till pretty much dark every day, try to work every day except for Sunday. And so they were like, well, how's it going? Are you still doing that? And I said, no, I changed things around a couple of years ago. And I feel like sometimes you need to have that break and just say, I'm done for the day, and be, this is good. This is where we want to be at. We don't want to be working so long, and, we don't want to work this weekend if we don't have to, or it's coming to be hot. We're not going to work, till 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock if it's this hot. So, and I think that's one of the things as you get into your business, that's something you got to think about is, do you have that time to actually sit down and say, I need time with my family. I need time to get away from the work and take that vacation mode as a boss, or, as an employee, like I need to take some time off to do this stuff or whatever, instead of continuously going at it full bore until you burn out. And I know we've probably all gotten to that point. I've gotten to that point a lot of times in the past where, when it comes October, I'm burnt out. I need that break, and going to GIE and Equip was one of the things that definitely, made sure it worked out really good. So
I will say, one of the big differences for me this year with the delegating is there's a lot of feedback, a lot of complaints this spring, and at first I thought it was because I wasn't on the field. But I will say, at least for our area in the Northeast, I want to say this is probably one of the first real springs that I can remember in a long time, as far as having like the mild temperatures, the 60s, the 70s, back to 50s, with like consistent rain and then drying out. Like, this has been an amazing growing season. I'll tell you right now, my butterfly bushes I have outside, my wife's cut them twice already this year. Yeah, and they're probably already at 8 feet again, and she keeps cutting them down to about 5-6 feet. So that just gives you some merit as to what the growing season's like. I don't remember. I mean, what do we got, Jade? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday we have heat advisories, or Tuesday, Wednesday we have heat advisories. So we're probably going to start going into dormant season with the grass. And I did tell my guys on Friday, things are going to start slowing down. A lot of the properties we have aren't irrigated, so things will slow down. No more 60-hour work weeks or whatnot, unless they continue to be there. But this is the first time in a long time that I remember actually having, again, we haven't mowed for it like this in a long time, but this is the first time I remember an actual spring, like getting, from April till end of June, it's been spring-like weather. So our last snowfall was Valentine's Day weekend.
No, we had something in April.
Well, from my out here where we live, yeah. But where I service, Valentine's Day weekend was the last one.
Yeah, we've. I agree with you as far as the spring, but also too, I think this morning it actually rained in my town. I don't know if it rained where you were at, Josh, but if you count today, that's 15 weekends in a row we've had rain. And everything has obviously been springing up, been growing. So we've had those mild temperatures, like you were saying, and then we jump right into the summertime, which I'm actually looking forward to. And yeah, I'm starting to see some signs of lawn dormancy as we speak. But it's definitely been that spring season that we've had, where I could imagine a lot of companies were having to get up to speed relatively quickly in the season. One thing I wanted to ask, and I wrote it in the chat, but it was just something that just popped in my mind, kind of like a subtopic to the time management and being a manager. But like, we all know that there's such thing as a micromanager. Is being a micromanager necessarily a bad thing? What are the benefits, and how do you manage correctly? to avoid being that negative micromanager.
Josh, you got anything on that one?
Depends on your people. If you have inexperienced people, necessarily in the industry, but just with work in general, like young men, young men and women that don't have really work experience, then you have to get on the micromanagement side of it. I truthfully don't believe in it. That's why I try to delegate more tasks. I feel like as a owner or foreman or operations manager, when you start micromanaging, you're spending way too much time on the small tedious shit rather than the actual big pictures of what you're supposed to be doing. And that's where delegating comes in, where sometimes those small tedious tasks that might take up 2 hours a day can be handed off to another person that can handle them. But then again, it goes back to the age demographic of your workforce, maturity of your workforce, and I think how you have things laid out for your staff. You're again kicking a dead horse. Systems and processes as far as how things get done. Like, are they simplified so everybody understands them? Like, does everybody understand all the verbiage that you're using across the board in your company? But no, I'm not a big believer in micromanaging as an owner. I think it's just it'll literally fucking kill you, stressing over the small stuff and having to deal with all that bullshit.
I agree with you.
I really agree with that too. I mean, I used to be that person that, I'd nitpick about stuff. And there's certain stuff that you need to make sure that it's done right, I feel. And there's, over the last couple of years, I've gotten to where it's like, I do delegate to a lot of the guys that work for me on what needs to be done, especially when we get to certain jobs. And then I just let them go. They know when we're mowing, we know who's mowing. We know who's mowing what. We know who's weed whipping. We know who's blowing. They know now that I don't have to say, hey, can you grab that weed whip? Can you grab that blower? They already know like what needs to be done at a job. And I think that goes on by, giving responsibility to your guys and holding them accountable. Like you said, Josh, earlier, you want to make sure that they're held accountable and know what that needs to be done to get to that point. And then you just got to sometimes you got to say, hey, that's not going to get done the right way. We all have our certain ways we want it, but, when you want to get it done and, it's still perfect, no matter which, the way they're doing it and the way you're doing it, you don't need to be like, hey, you need to go half an inch shorter, here, or you need to make sure you go wider here. It can all be done as long as it's done the right way and done, on time. So
funny. I just got involved with the organization and started my basic training. The first weekend that I got my injury. And part of what I have to do as far as one of my certifications, I have to take all the FEMA incident command systems classes. And it's funny we're talking about this because like some of that you're looking into, I'm like, it's the same setup as if like, how you would run a business on a larger scale and how all that shit works. So I'm like, all right, I just finished and passed the first course on that. I'm working on my IS2 and IS7, but it's funny. I'm going to see how I can incorporate that into business too.
Definitely. I mean, I think that's a good thing. That's kind of like training that you're going to implement in your business. And I feel like it's going to help you out in the long run, especially with your business. And I think anything that people do that, to help their business is going to make them benefit in the long run. Any little bit of training that you do. So I think that's going to help you out. So as we go on, Josh or JC, do you have any like programs that you use to help do your time? I mean, I use Jobber for it, but I think, and that's just for the scheduling, but how do you add in the rest of your stuff? I know there's other people out there like Mike Bedell. He uses Jobber for everything. He puts all his appointments in there, everything in there for the whole day. And I feel like sometimes that's just a lot for me to put all that information in the Jobber to say, hey, I'm going to go do this task. I'm going to go do this task. But do you use like Google Calendar or anything like that to kind of help manage your time and what you're supposed to be doing throughout the day? Or do you just write it all down? Or do you try to, trying to do all this work at the house and stuff and trying to work, it was like in my mind, I know, okay, today I got 1,000 things to be done. I'm going to try to work on these 10, and then I'm going to try to jump on to the next thing. But it's like, as I'm working with my ADD, I'm like, okay, this has to be done, but wait a minute, I got to go over here and do this part because I'm going to forget that I did this, So is there anything you guys use or try to implement to make it easier for you guys?
I think it's funny that you asked that, man, because like it's not necessarily just a business question, like it's a life question.
It is.
And I found myself that the older that I've gotten, the more I have to write stuff down and remember it. And it's crazy because like when I was younger, I would remember everything. I'd remember when I had to get up, when I had to do something at a certain time. Like if it was the next day at 3 o'clock, like I would remember that. No problem. And yeah, so like for basic life tasks, my favorite app on my phone right now is Notes. And I just write stuff that I know I need to remember. I write it down. But from the business end, I used Yardbook. I was very small. You got to understand, I was very, 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 very small, and part-time work. So, but one of the things that I enjoyed most was, even though I was a small, very small business, I can't emphasize that enough. I like the professional look. I like having invoices that I could email. I like all this stuff. So that was very helpful. In making sure that the customer knew exactly what I was doing, what they were being charged for, and how to go about making payments. So I thought it was very useful to have that, and I think it's a necessity. You're not going to have a successful business if you don't have some type of form, Jobber or Yardbook or whatever you decide to use. But on the other end of that, yeah, with life, man, just write stuff down and put it in my notes, and I live by that now.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's one thing, notes are good to have. I mean, I put it on my Google Calendar sometimes, and I know my wife uses a different program that literally we're all attached to for the whole family to kind of know exactly when certain things are coming up. But it's more about, like, for me, it's Google Calendar. I think that's the easiest for me, is that way it pops up every day. I know Jobber sending me stuff, and just like you said, Yardbook makes you look professional, and so does Jobber and all them other ones. And I think that's always a good thing, but it's just like when you're like, okay, I don't want it to pop up and say, hey, you gotta go wash the dog today at 8 p.m.
I need that.
I'd rather have that on Google to tell me than instead of Jobber telling me, like, I don't need that as a task for Jobber, to do that, So Josh, how do you handle all that stuff? I know you have so many systems and processes. I'd like to know how you handle all that stuff between life and work.
I'm a fucking mess. So, like, I don't know.
We all are, aren't we? We're all that way. I mean, it's one of those things hard, as business owners, because we're all over the place. No matter what, with your business, and it's more than a 9-to-5 job. It really is when you run a business. And a lot of people don't think that. They think, oh, you go in, you leave, and at any time, so you don't work as much as I do. We're working all the time, and it's always a mess for everybody, one of us that is working out there,
I will say, so when I'm on my shit, I'm on my shit. And what works best for me, obviously in the field, I did get back on with Jobber this year. I didn't use them as much, but because we were going heavily into the weekly maintenance side, and I'm predominantly commercial private campus accounts, so with just a handful of residential. But this way it's easier for the guys to snap a picture on Jobber when they're done with the project. Clients can use that portal, whatnot. QuickBooks for the accounting. All projects go into Jobber, and whoever they're assigned to gets it from there. I assign myself to everything just so I can kind of monitor throughout the day. And then what I have here for myself is I have a 6x5 whiteboard, and that's my master board. My master board is divided up into 3 sections. Work, everything work related. I'll bring it up next week when we're on, and you guys can see it. And it's basically jobs to do, invoices to complete, quotes working on, follow-ups. Has my house stuff of what I have to. And I've been very bad with this month because it's been crazy. I have my personal stuff of what I had to do, and then I have my extracurriculars, which right now is my training and my education for some other stuff that I'm getting involved in. So those three sections kind of break it down, and then that's what I call my master board. And then what I do is I try to utilize notes on my phone, but if you went through my notes, you would see like the way a disorganized ADD person works. It's like probably like 1,000 fucking notes of like 2 words, like do this. So honestly, I have a notebook in my bag, one notebook, and it's the top 5 priorities for that day. No matter what, it's like the non-negotiables, right? So those top 5 priorities. So if it's at work, where it's go to this estimate, talk to this employee, get a quote on fixing this truck. Boom, those are the top 5. Go home, cross them off my whiteboard. They come off, and it slowly gets knocked out. Because
you have a whiteboard?
Yeah, it's the dry erase board. So I don't know if I said that. My master board is a dry erase board. It's a big ass dry erase board.
Do you have that in your house, or do you have that in your room? Your shop? Where?
My house, and I move it around wherever I work. Like if my office isn't fully done upstairs, so I move it around. I just got a big one for the shop for the mechanic, so that because there's just so much going on and we're not always there. That way we can write it down for him. He can cross it off, and it's just a quick way to communicate. Where he'll work overnight. We're dead asleep. He gets there at 9 o'clock. He'll work till 7 o'clock in the morning, and he's not going to hit us up. I mean, he will. But I don't want him to hit me up at 3 o'clock in the morning asking a question. So everything's right there for him. So we're utilizing that at the new shop now, where we'll put it up in one of the containers. But the master board at my house is specifically for me because I do all my admin stuff from the house. I don't have an outside office, home office, whether it's my dining room up in the attic where I'm staging my office, in my fucking bathroom, wherever. I can move that board wherever I go. But everything that I need to do, that's my fucking Bible, that needs to get done is on that board. When I leave the house to go to work, the most important stuff just goes on a notebook with me, and I cross it off as I go. My estimates, I know it's weak. Some guys might upload them into QuickBooks or Jobber. That's where I do utilize notes. All my estimates go into notes, and I write them down, and when I get back, I'll send the estimates out on Jobber, boom, boom, and they're done.
I think that's good. I mean, I think
I got to be honest with you. My biggest reason for Jobber right now was price point. Right, it's still expensive. I think it's like $350 a month for the package I get. I'm not even 100%. But it's the auto follow-ups.
They got you ripped. I'll tell you that much.
I think I might be wrong, but listen, it went up, and I had to whatever. But go fuck yourself, you're a fucking ambassador. But no, a lot of it was to get rid of the follow-ups, because the problem was like through QuickBooks and even Outlook at my email, however I would send them, I still have to follow up. I did downgrade to the job. I started off this year with the cheaper version of Jobber, and the auto follow-ups weren't part of that package, and that's a pain in the ass. Because now I am setting it in Google Calendars follow up, whereas on that platform, and I'm sure you can do it with Service Auto, Pilot, Element, all that stuff, Service Titan. Is now I can set it for a week later, send a reminder. So that's one more task off my plate that doesn't need to go on that whiteboard.
Right. I think that's good. I mean, I think having a whiteboard is good. I hate to say this, but we have one in our shop. It's a dry erase calendar, and we usually go January through December. So we have the whole year up there. We have the dates that like I'm gone, the dates that my mowing guy are gone. There's a section over there for notes, and literally we put all the jobs on there. So literally I'll put all the jobs on there, what they are. So that way everybody that's coming in knows exactly what jobs still have to be done. When they're done, they get crossed off or wiped off the board. So that's easier for us in the long run to say, okay, we have 50 landscaping jobs at the beginning of the spring that we have to get done. Let's see when we can get them done. And I think that makes it easier that way too. And I know, Josh, that's probably one of the easiest ways for you to just go around and mark things off and just go from there. And I think that's a good thing to have. I don't think it's a bad thing to have a whiteboard for anybody. It definitely helps. Notes help out real good. We have notes in Jobber that you can put on when you're doing estimates, or the crew can put in the notes. And I tell my guys too, is that if they see something, like put it in the notes. I might not see it right then and there, but when I go to bill it and do my admin, I'm going to see that note and say, okay, well, this needs to be attention to. Let's contact the customer, see if we can add up as an added service, or, see what we need to do to get that done, So I think it's always good to have, any type of notes you got, even if you're putting it in your phone, writing it down. I hate to say it, but I still use my phone, and I have a book in my truck that I write stuff down. So, between the board, the book, phone, I mean, I'm writing things down probably 3 times just to make sure we're getting it done. So I don't see a problem, whatever way you do.
Something else I do is like, this is gonna sound stupid, but let's say I have a dentist appointment on Wednesday. I'll set an alarm like 2 hours before that actual appointment, and I'll name it dentist appointment. So if the day of my appointment's there and I completely forget that there's I have to go to the dentist, an alarm will go off, and I'll be like, oh crap, I have to go in a few hours. So like, that's how bad sometimes it gets with me, is that I just completely forget what I have to do that day, that I rely on an alarm when something is scheduled and I set it.
Do you feel like, from when you were younger till now, do you feel like your time management has changed? And is it, you do, like you said, you do more alarms now than you did in the past, and do more writing down and putting more notes in about things than you did years ago? And is it because that we're getting older and we want to remember this, or is it because we forgot so many times that we're like, shit, we got to make sure that we remember to go to the dentist, we got to make sure we go to our doctor, we got to make sure that we're sending out this invoice for people?
No,
What do
so
you-
I've always been paranoid about being late. I've never been, I can't say I've never been late, but I never liked being late for anything when I was younger.
Okay.
And I'd prioritize, I was a lot sharper, a lot better at remembering things when I was younger, like I was saying earlier. But and I'd get so anxious if I missed something. But now it's the lack of getting older, not caring so much, and just being forgetful, But yeah, I don't know how to explain it. I think as I've gotten older, I've become less responsible, and when I was younger, I was a lot more responsible.
Yeah, see, I think you're the same way. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like when I was younger, it was like, whatever, I don't care. I'll just do it whenever I get to it. And now I'm more like, I want to make sure that I do it the right way and get it done get it done before. Sometimes when I was younger, I'd wait 2-3 months to bill a customer for some services, and then to be like, after 2 months, they're like, hey, are you gonna bill me? Oh yeah, don't worry, I'll get you that bill. And now it's like, now I'm like, okay, I got to make sure it's billed out, in that 20-day period, so that way I'm getting paid, within a month, instead of waiting around for 2-3 months to get paid for it. And I think, Josh, you're probably at that same point where you want to make sure you're getting paid as soon as the job's done. So, is that something that having the jobber helps you out lately, or just writing it down to say, hey, I got to bill this person out?
So I'll give you an example. It's not a pitch for job. Any but again, me not be any of the most real. Being able to log in, set the route up on the, and as long as they set the appointment, it'll say voice job closed. And I can go in. I was yeah, and I was able to go in. Oh fuck! Get up with the invoice. Up, this 15 property had 5 or 6 different. I was. So it definitely helped. It's been fucking very busy.
True. Brightstone says, I thought about procrastinating, but I decided to wait. I think, yeah, we're all that way. It's one of those things. I don't know. I feel like sometimes, yeah, maybe I should wait on procrastinating, but it comes into a hard sometimes where, like, yeah, it just happens. So,
I call my. I'll take one. I procrastinate. But in reality, it's
I think he procrastinates on getting good internet.
The internet's not again.
I'm on my phone.
It's the walls. That's what it is.
The same fucking spot I'm in every time. Past.
It's because you left. Your AI is just going out. That's what I think it is. Oh,
Brightstone, that was a good one.
that was a good one. Brightstone, definitely thank you. I think it's one of those things sometimes. We all juggle a lot of stuff, and you just gotta sometimes take one thing at a time. Every day is a different day, and I think it's easier to, like Josh said in the past, is that you can write down all the stuff that you have, all the things you want to get done, but try to concentrate on a couple things at one time instead of trying to do everything. And yeah, I think all of us have that moment where, like me, and Josh, that we have that ADD moment to where we're like, yeah, we got to finish this up first, and then you switch from task to task. But you kind of just want to go back sometimes and just say, wait a minute, I got to finish this first task before I go on and do more tasks. And when you finally finish those tasks, it's going to make you feel like you completed something, and you can sit back and just relax. And with all the stuff that's been going on in the spring this year, I feel like I've accomplished so much now at this point where now I can start working on some other tasks, and just sit back and relax. And I think that's one of the things that you want to do in life is, we all get busy throughout the year, and it's going to be a roller coaster of busyness and slowness. And, when it gets to that dry time, we're always happy when it gets to that dry time, but, it helps us get other things done when we need to, and I think that's what the good thing is about us being business owners, is that there's always that slow time to be able to catch up. So, JC, okay, you still do some mowing and you still have a regular job. How do you juggle all that and have time for yourself?
It's not that difficult, but it does involve work. It does involve planning. Sometimes on my job, I have to go in at unexpected hours. So there's always that possibility that schedules could conflict, and things could be running at the same time at the last minute. So I usually dedicate, again, I still continue it to like Friday evenings, especially in the summertime if I'm able to, or if I have a random day off that I'm able to take off, or vacation day, I'll try to catch up and get some things done then. But the amount of lawns that I do now, I'm down to 2 right now, and it's not any heavy lifting. So it's nearby in my neighborhood. It works out great. But again, I can't just dismiss not planning things. I still have to make sure that I allot certain times for me to get certain things done. And the good thing is, it's not like the ones that I do expect me to go there every Saturday or every Sunday. It's really when I'm able to do it. So, perfect example this weekend, I did them Friday, and usually if I'm not trying to catch up on something, I'd either do them on a Saturday, one on a Saturday, one on a Sunday. But I banged them out Friday, and I had this weekend off to kind of take care of certain things that I needed to do for myself. So it kind of works out. And, it's on a bigger scale, that's a lot more difficult, easier said than done. But you still run into some pitfalls if you don't have a plan.
Right. I think you got to have a plan somehow, some way. Sometimes I feel like, especially in the rainy season, you got to have that plan of like, how are you going to attack this if, it rains all in one day. Like Brightstone said, he just finally got his yard mowed in about 2 weeks. I know how that is. I mean, I got 6 acres and I just got one section just mowed. Literally, it's been like 3 weeks. just because we've had so much rain on and off. And I feel like you got to figure it out sometimes. And like you said, you got to have a plan on how you're going to attack the week, how you're going to attack if it's going to rain. Like my kids said, I always sit there and watch the weather, and and it's like it's an important thing in our lives, as business owners in the green industry, and concrete and paint, outside painting, power washing. You got to kind of know what's going on weather-wise to kind of plan your week in a way. Because I mean, if you're just taking it like, hey, every day I'm going to go out and mow grass, and then it rains all day, what are you going to do at that point? You're now a day behind, So you got to have that one day, at least 2 days, to where you can be able to turn around and say, okay, I got that to take care of. And I know Josh has probably got that all figured out now. I mean, you just went back to mowing, and a couple, 2 years ago. And so now it's like, you got to plan for that day that it's going to rain. So how do you plan that, Josh? If it's, is your guys mowing 5 days a week, or are they mowing 4 days and they have that extra day just in case?
Outside of growing season, it should be down to about 3 days a week. So
Okay.
what we're doing right now, we got to add up trying to bring in another guy so we can try to knock that down to just 2 full days. And we're shoving a lot into those 2 full days, and we cover a pretty decent area. From you got some 45 miles west, 30 miles north of Boston. In Boston, so we cover kind of a wide area. So we're stuffing a lot in there as long as there's no hiccups. But again, like you said, rain, truck breakdowns, people don't show up. I have one of our guys. We were going into him. He came on last fall. He unfortunately had some legal issues last year, and he'll be away for about a year now. And we worked with him a long time in hopes that things would work out in his benefit, and they did it. And we have to replace him in addition to trying to bring in another guy to fill another crew. But right now they're about 4 or 5 days. Again, we've had a lot of rain during the week. I mean, last week was the exception, but to catch up, things have taken off. Weeds and the curb lines are coming in a lot. Starting to having to do some red spraying and stuff while they're on the roads. But I would say after this week, going into that first week of July, it should be down to 2 or 3 days, and then they'll have a 2-day buffer. That was kind of the plan when we said, all right, we're going to go into this. We're going to take on a large campus, municipal contracts, and our commercial clients and nursing homes. And but we need, in order for it to work, it makes financial sense. It's be done in 2.5 days, 3 days at the most.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the best way. I mean, I used to mow 5 days a week, and then if it rained 2 days, we were screwed because you're now mowing, Saturday and trying to catch it up Sunday, or you're trying to swing in as much as you can on Saturday so you're not losing anybody. And we went down, I think 4 or 5 years ago, to where we're only trying to mow 4 days a week, and I think that's one of the best things. Is right now we're down to 3.5 days, and now that it's warming up, just like you said, it can be all done in 3 days, and I think that's where it helps you out to where you can do other tasks, especially if you got, like you said, weed spraying. You got edges, you got to do bed maintenance, other extra fertilizations. There's always them jobs that you can push off to a time to where you're slowed down when it comes to mowing, or slow down on a big installs and say, okay, I'm going to take some time to do some quick little installs or some patio work or whatever needs to be done. And I think that's always a good thing, especially when it slows down through the summer. And I think that's always also a good time if you're got it down to a couple of days to where you can go and just relax with your family if you want, especially if you got kids, a wife that's at home or something, it's always good that way too. So
I'll be honest. So we had a lot more to start the season off in April, and again we had my tops. We had a meeting, and the deal was that I was going to fully engage one. I had all right. I got right up with the penalty. Let me want to go over one track. Taking too long. Maybe complaining too much. Wasn't paying on time. It'll affect.
I got every word of that.
I did too
Sorry.
for a second.
I'm seeing you guys blink and sniff. Am I like breaking up or something?
It's out. Okay, this is the way you sound. The last time you just talked, you started fine, and then it sounded like you had one of those throat talkers and you were talking with a throat thing.
See, I get that when you talk. I'm getting that when you talk, not when JC talks. That's what's fucked up.
That's what we're getting with you talking.
I don't know. I think it's your fault, fucking country boy.
It ain't me. It's not me, guys. Everybody else is good, so it must be you, Josh. I don't know what it is, but I think when it comes to business, we all have to figure out a way to manage our time. No matter if you're, like we all said, if you're writing things down, if you're using a CRM to help you out, or if you're using notes in your phone or calendars or whatever you're using, a whiteboard like Josh, it always helps to help you get through the week, get through the year. The best thing I can say is prepare early, kind of get it all down as soon as you can, and get it. So, I mean, that's the best thing I can say. So, but guys, this was a great episode. I want to thank our sponsors, Cujo Shoes, for sponsoring us. I want to thank Pro Parts Direct for sponsoring us, and Awesome Candle for sponsoring us. It's always been awesome to have you guys on, and like I said, let's get moving up on the ranking. We are still 12 in the United States and all over the world, so let's move it up. We want to be up to the high point. I want to pass a lot of people in business, so let's do this. So keep listening to us, guys. Keep watching. We love when you guys watch and listen. Comment on stuff, dude. We'd love to hear your comments, and I'd like to hear also too, how do you guys manage your time? What kind of programs do you use? What are you using to continuously grow your business, or to be able to manage everything from your business life to your regular life, and how you do it? So that's one of the things I'd love to hear from everybody. But that's all I got for today. JC, you got anything else before we end out?
No, just one update on our sponsor, Awesome Candle Company, on Etsy. Stay tuned. We're actually going to be working on getting a discount code. So if you're interested, get a discount, some awesome candles, and coming relatively soon, we're going to get a sample pack of landscape lawn care community scented candles.
Yes, definitely. Hopefully we'll have it before Equip, and you can come see us at Equip. I'll carry it with me at Equip, so I'll be at Equip. I know JC, you're going to probably be at Equip. Josh, I don't know if we can get him on a plane. He doesn't like to fly, especially with this static from his AI that he's got going on. But but if we can get him to come.
I don't know. JC started his narrative that I'm scared to fly.
But if we can get you all to come find us at Equip, you might be able to smell some candles, and they are pretty smelly good. So, we want that. So, and then you can buy them straight directly from us, or we can get you guys hooked up. So, thank you guys for watching us and listening to us, and we'll talk to you guys next week sometime. You never know when we'll be on, and we're gonna have a great time always. And there's some good stuff that we're always talking about. So, we'll talk to you all.